Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Another weekend of survival for the Ukrainians. They're getting pummeled. Let's not pretend it's anything other than that. While it is not what I think a lot of people thought it was going to be, which is like, 2-3 days and they would surrender. At the end of the day, it is still, and it's decimating is the best way to describe it. They're decimating. They do not care for human beings. There's no care for life. It is just about trying to do everything you can to get them to submit. That's it. There's nothing else. Nothing else outside of that. They're bombing, you name it. They're just willy-nilly firing rockets into civilian areas. Their quote-unquote pathway of humanitarian, right? So these roads and pathways, yeah, you could go to Russia, you can go to Belarus. That's it. You can't go anywhere else. Like, this is what they're doing. The calculation of the way that Putin has gone about handling this stuff, as calculated and as evil as it is going to end in victory-ish. Remember that. You'll win the war, but you're not going to win the occupation. You'll win the war because you have superior firepower and you don't care. That's the other side of it. You don't care. You don't care about your people's lives and you don't care about their people's life. At the end of the day, it's just about what? Annihilation, right? That's it. It's not occupation. It's annihilation. That's all that he is about. There's an old saying, right? A picture's worth 1,000 words. We said this about a month ago before this thing started. The one thing that this thing is going to do is it's going to change the way we see war in ways we've never seen it before. Because it is going to be so readily available, 24/7. We're going to be able to see stuff. Individuals on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, those things will still be getting out. And we're seeing that. Right? And that video changes things the ways that people don't get. I always use this, but go back to this. Ray Rice was a football player. Pretty good one. Pretty damn good football player. He was accused of hitting his girlfriend, and he was suspended for 2 games. 2 games. The video came out, and he never played football again. That's the reality of it. Seeing dead women and children on the street, which I saw this morning on CNN, group of people, the way that they're doing this is vile. But there's nothing we can do to stop it. Nothing. Nothing we could do. The reality is Putin is doing what Putin wants to do, and he set this up for years. He set this up for years by turning his country into a energy producing and exporting country while switching over to nuclear, and then telling the West and everybody else through bots and funneling money to people that, hey, we got to save the world and we need to get off fossil fuels, and then watching everybody cut fossil fuels left, right, and center because they turned it into a cult. And then lo and behold, they became what? Addicted? Still, now dependent. Think about that. We're now dependent, the West in many ways, for horrible nations and horrible leaders. And all the while, we're running at our own demise. Gas prices today through the roof. Still trying to figure out what are we going to do with oil and gas.
The national average now topping $4 for the first time since 2008, and prices could soon soar even higher as the U.S. appears to move closer to banning Russian oil imports. Bloomberg reports the White House is now considering banning Russian oil without European allies joining in. Europe is far more reliant on Russian energy. But the White House telling ABC News overnight no decision has been made.
Yeah, why is that? We should have. People are calling for it. Why don't we? Why don't we? I mean, that's a real question. Why haven't we? Why don't we? Well, you've got stuff coming up, right? You got stuff coming up called an election. You're seeing prices through the roof. Today, oil touched $130 a barrel. 130. Currently sitting at about 123, 124, bouncing back and forth. Well, when you have an election coming up, inflation is already through the roof. You're in a position where people are starting to go back to work and consume more energy as the Omicron/coronavirus fades away into the, and by the way, have we even talked about that at all? No. All that being said, it's still your number one job as a leader, as a politician, is to get reelected. Well, you can't have gas get to $5 a gallon nationally, $8 in California. God knows what that's going to be like. I don't know. I mean, I paid $4.19 today, I think, for gas. Last week, it was $3.39 where I was. So it's $4.19. I have a feeling by the time I get home tonight, it'll probably be up another, at least a dime. So it's a nightmare. And he is loving every second of it. He has pulled us all into this nightmare. His murderous rampage, and we should be pissed. He's destroying his nation. And like I said the last couple of weeks, remember what he's doing to his country. He's turning people who've understood freedom, people who've understood what it's like to be able to travel, to be able to have access to things that everybody else has for the most part. He's now turning him into North Koreans. The difference is the North Koreans don't know they're North Koreans. They don't know they don't have anything. They don't know anything else exists outside of their world where these people do. And the question is why? That's the big thing.
Most of the countries in Europe didn't believe he would invade. It just made no sense to them. They thought the risk calculus for him was not good. What they don't recognize is this guy is now almost 70 years old. He realizes he's in the backstretch. He probably feels that his legacy is not yet complete unless he can restore greater Russia, which has to include Ukraine at least under his thumb, if not occupied by it. Yesterday he began to make assertions to them losing their statehood.
Yeah, there you go. We talked about it. We've been talking about it. 70 years old. You can see the finish line. It's much closer than the starting line. Right? He's at that point where this is it. This is it. He's willing to do whatever he needs to do to finish whatever it is in his mind that he has started. And it's tough. And now the question is, as Moldova worries about it today, what is next? Who is next? Where are they going? They're not going to finish here. They've started something. What is it? What exactly is it that he wants? Because I don't think anybody really knows at this point. Hell, he might not even know. Now, I started this thing. I don't really know what I want. I mean, I just know I wanted this, but why stop here? I can have Moldova. The question is, when does he get to a point where he wants to see how united NATO and everybody is? That's the big question. He wants to, let's see, you guys sound great in your polls, right? Right? The polls, Germany, they didn't really care about the Ukraine. Then when the invasion happened, all of a sudden, they're for handing them weapons and they're for a lot of different things, getting rid of Nord Stream 2 and all this stuff. But polls are one thing. The reality is something else. And I think he wants to test the mettle of the West. I think at the end of the day, that's so much of what this is. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. A lot of stuff to get to today. Squeeze in more about this. Our buddy Mike Lyons going to join us a little bit later today. Talk about what could be next, where he could go. Also, what's going on in those nuclear power plants. We've heard reports that they are essentially turning them into makeshift bombs that he could hold over the West and say, if you guys don't do what I tell you to do, I'm going to light these things up. It's going to be like Chernobyl meets Fukushima, and the Europeans are going to be stuck under a cloud of radiation. Is that a possibility? God, with this guy, who knows? But judging by what I'm seeing, judging by what I'm hearing, judging by the people I talk to, oh, yeah, definitely a possibility. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter, tweet at us, text the program. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. RUFFgreens.com/Chad. People ask me all the time, does it really work? I say yes. It's got vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega 369, all this incredible stuff. Sprinkle it on top of my dog's food. Voila! My dog's food comes to life. Not actual life dancing around. What it does do is it brings all the nutrients and everything it is inside of the food and just makes it so much healthier, and it's so much better for your dogs. It's helped my dogs with their energy, with their joints, with their digestive system. It'll help yours. Try it before you buy it. That's what Rough Greens wants you to do. They just want you to just try it. That's it. You pay the cost of shipping. They're going to send you a bag for free. If you don't like it, all you're out shipping. But come on, man. They're putting their money where their mouth is. It's pretty good. RUFFgreens.com/Chad or call 833-MY-DOG-77. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
Starting on Monday, New York City will no longer require bars and restaurants to pretend to look at vaccination cards. The city will be lifting its vaccine mandate for indoor dining and events. Finally, said the next variant.
Man, that thing is... Think about if you're Rachel Walensky. When's the last time anybody saw Fauci? Anyone? Don't know. Don't even know. I'm working on new stuff. I got a new mask that's coming out. Nobody's paying attention. The world's moved over and said, hold on a second. Like, yeah, you know what? This thing's had its time. It's come, it's gone. Moved on with our lives. Let's look over here. There's stuff going on over here. Stuff's happening over here that is affecting all of us on a day-to-day basis, which is the extremely high gas prices. And we talked about it last week. It's kind of like the little thing you do, right? It's something, for those of you out there who are just like, well, what can I do? People's like, well, you could stop bitching about gas prices. Yeah, well, you know what? For some people, I'm not going to lie. It sucks that it's going up, but am I starving? No. But if I was, 10 years ago when I was trying to build this thing, oh, man, I'm going to ride my bike. This is where businesses need to step up and say, guys, we went 2 years working at home. We can go another few months if we need to. And we might need to, right? This might be the great way of giving your people the opportunity to, quote unquote, work from home, which wouldn't be a bad thing at this moment in time. Wouldn't be. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But at $4.19, $4.25, $6, California, you've got $5.20 up to like $9 in some places up near Big Sur, like $8-9. It's nuts. It is. You are in a position where you're like, my goodness me. What are things going to cost? See, remember, a lot of what we're seeing now, investment-wise, with the market up, some of that stuff was already built in because of the anticipation, because people thought things were going in certain directions. They had already built some of those things into some of this pricing. Over the last 72 hours, those things are going to start hitting us in the next 2, 3, 4 days. And then the supermarkets are going to start feeling it. It's crazy. It is. It's sad. It's so freaking... this weekend, we did a little shopping. It's my birthday, went out and did some stuff, and it's nuts. It is. It is seeing the cost of certain things that you knew were months ago were nowhere near this, but just to get it into a position of where people can stock it, And, of course, that's getting passed on to who? Let's not forget, that's being passed on to anyone? The consumer. That's the way that works. No matter what the likes of AOC and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders say, it's going to go to the consumer. Those are the people that are going to be paying the prices. And I know that every single one of those uber progressive living out there in the far left world thinks that everybody who owns a business is like Scrooge McDuck. The minute they're done with the day, they go in the back and they take off their bathrobe and they jump into just piles of gold. But that's not true. It's not. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. All that's going on. Guess what? We got a WNBA player in some trouble.
Video released by Russian customs appears to show the 31-year-old athlete going through airport security near Moscow last month, and the video then shows an employee removing a package from her bag. Russian state media reports vape cartridges containing hashish oil found. Greiner was arrested for allegedly smuggling a narcotic substance, an offence punishable there by up to 10 years in prison.
Yikes. Now, is she going to be used? Probably.
Brittany Griner helped lead the U.S. to 2 Olympic golds at the Rio and Tokyo Games, but now she is detained here in Russia. And with the situation in Ukraine complicating matters, there are real concerns for her security.
Yeah. Plus, she is LGBTQ plus LMNOP, which, of course, means in that country not good things. Is she going to be used as some sort of weapon or tool? I don't know. Does she really have any of these things? Again, I don't know. You should have left. And apparently what they did is they found this several days ago. Then they charged her. So, again, also suspicious. So it's another geopolitical situation that is a way for him to cause chaos and hell. Think about the last 36 months or so. China and Russia. Autocrats causing hell on the world. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. It's Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
If you're looking for some nostalgia, Sony's announced 2 new Walkman music players. The NWWM-1A2 and the NWWM-1Z-M2, priced from $1,600 to $3,200 respectively. But you get all the bells and whistles, including extremely strong aluminum alloy frame that is resistant to any electrical noise and other interference while delivering high-quality sound. Purity gold-plated, oxygen-free copper chassis, prioritizing nuanced sound for a premium listening experience. Both players have a 5-inch customizable touchscreen, offer 128 to 256 gigs of storage, and they'll be available in Asia starting in April. It's a bit much. My mom still has Sony Walkman. She has a couple of them. She still does the tape thing. I don't know. I can't get her. It took us a long time to get her to go to the ATM. She just didn't trust it. She was not trusting of the ATM. That's weird. Tell me about it. So, oil prices through the roof. We have a nightmare going on in a place where no matter what we try to do, there's only so much we can do. They're pleading for help. They're doing everything they can. Zelensky every day is giving updates. Every day he's in front of the cameras. Every day he's doing what he's supposed to be doing as a leader, which is leading. All that being said,
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky renewing his plea for a no-fly zone for planes, warning of an imminent Russian attack on the port city of Odessa, pleading with world leaders, create humanitarian airspace without missiles and aerial bombs. This is your humanitarian duty to protect us. The Russians using their massive aerial advantage to target key infrastructure as well.
Yeah, the reality is, though, there's not a lot we're going to be able to do. I mean, if we were to look, I think all of us look and see what's going on over there and think to ourselves, why can't we? What could we do? And there's only so much we're going to be able to do. And the no-fly zone is no for us.
Look, a no-fly zone has become a catchphrase. I'm not sure a lot of people fully understand what that means. That means flying AWACS 24 hours a day. That means the willingness to shoot down and engage Russian airplanes in the sky. That means, frankly, you can't put those planes up there unless you're willing to knock out the anti-aircraft systems that the Russians have deployed, and not just in Ukraine, but in Russia and also in Belarus. So basically, a no-fly zone, if people understood what it means World War III.
Yeah, and I don't think people understand that. I don't think they understand. They don't understand the fact that you're going to have to be, you're not writing them a ticket. You're not writing the back of their, as their jet flies by, well, what's that, the number on the back of that tail there? You're not doing that. You're not fining them like it's one of those speed cameras. You're having to engage and blast them out. And it also means taking out actual stuff elsewhere that includes places within Russia and Belarus. I don't give a rat's ass about Belarus. They kiss my ass. Continues today, over and over again, pushing for it, but the answer's still the same.
NATO would have to enforce that no-fly zone, meaning if a Russian warplane entered that restricted area, NATO and the U.S. would be compelled to take action, including the possibility of shooting it down. That would then put our pilots at risk and raise the potential for expanding the war, putting the U.S. and Russia possibly in direct military confrontation.
Martha Raddatz on the ground again. She was there last week. It sucks. It sucks because there is no bad options at this point. There's just awful options. And what they're doing is simply this, which is they're pushing everybody. Either you go and you're safe and you could travel to Belarus or the Ukraine, or you stay where you are and you die in your city. That's kind of what it's all about. Then you've got the other side of it, which is China, which has been as useless as it gets. And once again, we are like crack addicts with cheap goods, and the global economy, while it supplies us with cheap goodies, the reality is we've had to cozy up with some awful human beings, China being one of them. And they and what you have over there in Russia are pals. And that doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon, at least not at this moment, because we're not prepared. We're not prepared to confront our addiction. We're not prepared to confront many of our major manufacturers and donors about moving elsewhere. I mean, the Olympics were kind of yeah, they really are kind of bad. But we talked about it with Hong Kong a year and a half ago. We've talked about it with the Uyghurs for the last several years. People have known, but the difference is it didn't affect them in a negative way, right? Gas affects everybody. Prices go up. Even if you don't have a car, prices are still going up. So the cost of fuel affects everybody. The Uyghurs, out of sight, out of mind. Because we're not seeing pictures, too. I think we saw pictures every single day coming out of there. That might change some people's mind. But the reality is this is close to escalating in a certain way. And what is China going to do, if anything?
China is prepared to continue playing a constructive role to facilitate dialogue for peace and work alongside the international community when needed to carry out necessary mediation.
Yeah, you're doing nothing. That's exactly what that is. One of their foreign ministers talking about this.
China and Russia are both permanent members of the UN Security Council.
Joke.
And each other's most important close neighbors and strategic partners.
Yeah, joke. So you close them off and you turn elsewhere. That's what we're doing. We're turning to Venezuela. We're at a point now where it is close, much closer, I think, than people realize, that Biden might take a trip to Saudi Arabia, which is something we've talked about for the last several months. At some point, you've got to deal with it. Rising gas prices. Well, I don't want to deal with him because of what he did to Khashoggi. All that being said, you're running for re-election. What he did to Khashoggi was awful. What's going on over there is awful. And if part of stopping hundreds of thousands from dying and millions of refugees is to talk to somebody who is awful, I mean, we sell them weapons, but we won't talk to them, that's silly. We're sending a group of diplomats this week to Venezuela. Little things. And, of course, Iran has a lot of oil. Little things that we can do to curb any other use of oil, not just here from Russia, but elsewhere, would be huge. But you have to deal with people that are bad. That's understandable. It is. And for whatever reason, and this dependence of it's all about this fossil fuels. Yes, it is. At this point in time, understand what it is. You get from point A to point B. Your stuff gets from point A to point B. Those aren't unicorn farts. Those aren't happy rainbows that take it there. It's fossil fuels. And we've been sold a bill of goods for the last umpteen years as countries like Russia have changed the way they're doing business by going cleaner and cheaper with nuclear and convincing everybody else in the world that nuclear is bad and that you guys should all be on a cleaner energy. And while that's all going on, prices are going through the roof, people are dying, and we've been sold a bill of goods, and people bought into it. Because it's great, man. You start twisting the heartstrings, right? Oh, into polar bear. It sounds great because you want to be on the right side of it. So instead what we do is we outsource our consumption and production to a bunch of people who can't stand us, who don't give a rat's ass about the environment. Also, we could feel better at home.
We can't take our eyes off of any of the things that we need to get done. And I think you heard President Biden walking this line during the State of the Union. About a third of the speech was about Ukraine, which is a massive issue for us in the United States. But I will just say that there is a connection between what we are trying to do domestically and what we are trying to do internationally. We should be investing right here at home in renewable energy technologies. We should be weaning ourselves of fossil fuels.
Yeah, it sounds great, Pramila Jayapal, except for the fact that we're still 80% dependent on fossil fuels or nuclear energy. 20% is wind, right? Solar, hydropower. The rest of it is fossil fuels with a little energy that's brought on by nuclear. That's it. So that's not changing tomorrow. It isn't. So what do? Well, we better learn how to get back to a point where we're energy independent. And the funny thing is, you look and see things like nuclear, which they'll tell you it's cleaner, it's cheaper. They just, no, because it's bad and it's evil. No, it's evil, it's bad. No, it's bad. It's bad. Look what's going on over there. Well, we're not going to be invaded, and our stuff will work a little bit better. But look what happened to Chernobyl. Chernobyl was a nightmare. I was joking the other day. Half that stuff, all those buttons, they probably didn't even work. They weren't even real buttons. They're just like, we got to fill these things up. Totally different. But instead, we outsource this to people who like our carbon footprint, which is made up. Just totally made up. But I think British Petroleum actually hired a firm to make that up. And people buy into it because we're so emotionally driven that we buy into this stuff. So because of that, this guy's worked his way into getting Europe completely dependent on him and their drugs, if you will, of fossil fuels, and able to invade a nation where at this point in time, he's thinking about making sure their statehood is taken away, if you will, and finishing them off while the world watches. We can cripple them only so much, but we got to take that next step. And that next step is getting rid of anything that has to do with them selling it outside of to China and a few other places where there are other despots.
You have to ban Russian oil, and you have to increase domestic production. And that is where Joe Biden's going to have the problem, because he's held captive by the environmental left. That what John Kerry, his guy, said last week that the real tragedy of Ukraine is it's slowing our efforts on climate change. That will summarize what the far left's view is about domestic oil production.
Climate change, we just saw the UN report this week. This problem is an existential crisis, and it's getting worse.
I don't think any of us are naive.
Tragedy is in Ukraine?
I don't think any of us
people are being
what is the
slaughtered.
definition of...
It's true. It's an existential. First of all, I don't buy anything the UN says. And secondly, says who? Says a bunch of people who want us to go and change the way that we do it, all the while so many of those people who are saying that aren't changing what they're doing, but then charging us more for the stuff that we want and need, as we think we're doing the right thing because morally we think it's the right thing to do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Got a funny story coming up. Man stole some stuff. Little heads up on this one. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Car Shield, 24/7 roadside assistance from Car Shield. It's awesome. Rent a rental car if your car breaks down and you need a car after you had it towed to the shop that you want to tow it to have them get it fixed, and they're going to pay them directly. That's what Car Shield does. Over 1 million drivers trust Car Shield. Why not be one of them? They're going to treat you amazing. They have plans to fit anybody's budget, which is awesome. So as cars continue to rise in price, especially used cars, people no longer have warranties. And the thought of things getting more expensive from the cost of labor to, yes, the parts themselves, why not protect yourself with Car Shield? Go to carshield.com/Benson. When you do, boom, save yourself 10% right there. Carshield.com/Benson. Carshield.com/Benson. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Deep states? No. Deep doo-doo? Yeah. The Chad Benson Show.
I'm vengeance. The Batman was expected to open with at least $100 million, and it did that and more. $128.5 million for Robert Pattinson's bow as an even darker Dark Knight. The Batman's also only the second pandemic-era movie to score a $100 million opening weekend after Spider-Man No Way Home.
Hear everything they say, ain't you?
Add the $120 million from overseas showings, and the Batman's total opening take is $248.5 million.
Not bad. Not bad at all. Probably be more if it wasn't for the fact that it is also 2 hours and 55 minutes long. I don't have that kind of time. Let me phrase that. I don't have that kind of want. Now, I'll watch, I binged Vikings Valhalla, but over 4 or 5 days. Watch an episode a night. Last weekend, not feeling good. I watched a couple episodes. Sitting in the theater for 2.5 hours, I just don't have that. So you think about it. You get there, 20, 30 minutes before, especially right now, because people are going to see it. You go in, get your popcorn, you sit down. You get 20 minutes of trailers and commercials, and then 2 hours and 55 minutes of the movie. So you're into that thing for close to 4 hours. Might just have a strong pass on that one. Not that I don't want to see it, but heard it's pretty woke. People are complaining about the wokeness. I don't know how woke it is. I'm sure it's fairly woke. That's the world we live in now, where everything is woke because, yeah. This guy got a little more than he thought. So a thief breaks into this truck, freight truck. That's right. It's Denver, Colorado. Grabs some stuff, takes off. According to the release from the Denver Police Department, the truck was parked at East Denver when someone broke in between 2:30 p.m. And 9:30 a.m. the next day. All right? So it's Wednesday into Thursday. Now, the suspect stole a dolly and a box labeled exempt human specimen. What was in there? Heads. That's right. Heads for medical research. Oh, my God. Is it just one of those things where this person thought, I'm grabbing a bunch of stuff, I don't care what it is, I'm breaking into it, and I'm taking it, and I don't care. And then you get wherever it is you're going, you're like, what'd you get, Jim? I got a bunch of heads? What? Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of these. What are these going for now? A lot. It's like a grave robber, old style. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Gas prices up. Ukraine invasion still nasty and getting uglier. What a start to the week. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I was told I have to boycott McDonald's, Pepsi. I already do that with Starbucks, by the way. Supposed to do them too? Oh, man. Because they're still operating in Russia. It's that thing, right? Like we always talk about. It's like, I want to boycott, but I don't. But I do. Does it really help anybody? I'm surprised that they've stayed open, to be honest with you. I'm surprised. But welcome to the world of this insane situation that we're seeing going on. But I am surprised. I mean, I thought that they would close down, and maybe they're just going to sell what they have and just shut the place down. IKEA shut down last week. I follow this couple. So my uncle says to me a few months ago, I go, what'd you do today? You know, because we're doing our stuff. And he loves to watch YouTube because he watches this YouTube couple in Russia. He's been watching for like a year. Just everything, what they want to do. They've learned how to speak English by watching movies. And their English is pretty way better than my Russian. It's like really, really good. And they just had a baby and they have their little house and they take you on tours of all the things they're doing. And then, so about 3 weeks ago, he goes, oh, dude, that little couple I watched, they just disappeared. It's not on there anymore. And then about 5-6 days ago, they started posting again. And it is, man, they went to IKEA. It's hours waits outside. They're shutting things down. It was the last day that you get into IKEA and buy anything. And they're showing how, like, this is just gas prices there have gone through the roof for them. And it's interesting because they've talked about what kind of salaries people make, how much money people make over here, and government's where you go to make the money there. And it's just fascinating to watch. But their whole world is crumbling. It is. And that younger generation, as we talked about for the last week or so, they realize what's coming. They understand what is going to happen with this isolation and the fact that you're going to be able to go to like 8 places, like China. You can go there, right? You can go to Iran if you want to take a vacation. They realize that this is if you can even afford it. that you're going to now become somewhat of a pariah on the world stage and you're becoming North Korea. They realize that. And it's sad because that younger generation over there is looking at a world and a time of their life that is going to be lost. And the most important and the best currency and the most sought after currency in the world is time. And they're not getting that back. All that being said, it marches on, it being the invasion and annihilation of of Ukrainian people, as well as their homes and anything inside of that country.
Russia accelerating its attacks across Ukraine. A pattern now emerging of civilian areas and infrastructure being struck. The US saying reports that the Russians are deliberately targeting civilians are very credible. The UN saying that more than 360 civilians, 25 of them children, have been killed so far. But the Ukrainians saying the real toll is much higher.
Yeah, we don't know how many. We don't even know how many of the soldiers are dying. I saw one of their top soldiers who was doing it like a press conference. He'd been arrested, but, he was doing a press conference. And he said, look, we were lied to. And we were told for months this was a fascist regime. We were told for months that essentially that they were going to welcome us with open arms. And instead of flowers, we got bullets. And this, it's getting uglier and uglier. And it's not going to get better anytime soon. Still people trying to figure out exactly what the deal is. What does he want? Where is he going? What is next? Apparently today, this is awesome, at MFA Russia, so a friends list they put out, but they also put out a list of countries that are unfriendly to Russia. Let's take a look at some of these horrible countries. Taiwan, Singapore, New Zealand, Micronesia, which we all know hates the Russians, Australia, South Korea, Japan, North Macedonia, San Marino, which is Norway, Monaco, Liechtenstein, Iceland, Andorra, Albania, Switzerland, Montenegro, Ukraine, UK, EU, which is not a country. You just could have put most of those other countries in there. Canada and U.S. Basically, everybody who's not Venezuela, Iran, and China has been a meanie to you. Goes back to why. I thought Marco Rubio hit on something we've talked about for the last, several weeks as this thing has led up to this, which is there's a time factor here for this guy.
Most of the countries in Europe didn't believe he would invade. It just made no sense to them. They thought the risk calculus for him was not good. What they don't recognize is this guy is now almost 70 years old. He realizes he's in the backstretch. He probably feels that his, legacy is not yet complete unless he can restore greater Russia, which has to include Ukraine, at least under his thumb, if not occupied by it. Yesterday, he began to make assertions to them losing their statehood.
Meaning they would no longer exist anywhere. Remember, Ukraine is older than Russia. And then the question that everybody wants to know, because I think we know where this is going. We don't know how it ends for Zelensky. He'll win the war. He's going to lose the occupation. How many people are going to be fleeing? Several million. Right now, it's about 2 million people that have fled. They expect 5 million if they can get them out. But you're still going to have a nation full of people that hate your guts. How do you occupy that? I mean, honestly, what do you do? How do you occupy that? Knowing that there's going to be snipers on every corner, that there's going to, every time you drive by a trash can, that there's going to be a potential for an IED, improvised exploding device. We know what that's like. And the difference is in some of the nations we did it in, which, I wasn't a fan of going into Iraq. I think we had to do something in Afghanistan. That a majority of those people were terrified of the Taliban before. They didn't know what to do with any of it. These people have known freedom, and now you're going to clamp down on them and not expect them? Think that you're going to actually be able to occupy that? You're going to get bled dry over the next decade. You're going to lose tens of thousands of soldiers and you're going to go bankrupt. See Afghanistan again.
You see a person that's now engaged himself in a conflict that he can't win. He is now engaged in a conflict where he's either going to have a costly military victory followed by a costly occupation that he can't afford, or he's going to get caught in a long-term military quagmire at the same time as he's facing a second front, which is an economy in free fall in his own country. So the combination of these two things, I think, puts us in a very dangerous place, and that is he's going to have to do something, some escalation, some amplification of this crisis, and I'm worried about what those things could be.
Translation, he's going to amp it up to a point where he's going to try to get them on their knees and crush their souls with we'll kill everything that moves that's not ours. Hell, we'll kill everything that moves that is ours and yours. So be done. And I don't even know what that looks like. Does that look like it's to give up? Zelensky has to surrender, right? Taken, to some kangaroo court where they drum up charges and the world watches and then they execute him and his family? I couldn't tell you. Which he knows I do that. I mean, people keep asking about why not the war crimes? Why not the war crimes? And I think there's a reason. We're going to ask our buddy a little bit later today, Mike Lyons, about the war crimes. And I think one of the big things about the war crimes is you're trying to give him still an off-ramp, no matter how small it is, where he thinks at least maybe and a little off-ramp here, because I go back to some of the things we've talked about with people who are desperate, right? You see people why is that guy running from the law? Then you find out this is his third or fourth strike. He's got a gun. He's wanted for murder. He's already shot somebody today. And you realize that his thing is either I'm going out with a bang. I'm going out with a bang. And I think they're still trying to give him some sort of off-ramp where he doesn't feel now, well, you know what? Screw it. I'll take everybody with me, including my own people. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from all of you. But at least we have a leader that's got it all going on.
How do we get to the place where, decides he's going to just invade Russia? Nothing like this has happened since World War II.
Yeah, that's solid. He's fun. It's our president right there, kids. How does he get to the point where we invade Russia? Where he invades Russia? He's Russian. What? Yeah. Don't worry, though. The good news is this week, Kamala's going to be heading on over, sort everything out. Can you believe that? The Polish people are like, yay. MyPillow is awesome. Right now, MyPillow's got the deepest discounts in the history of discounts, and you can take advantage of it. Go to MyPillow.com/Benson today. Save big. Make sure you use promo code Benson. Deep, massive discounts on every single thing that is out there with MyPillow, and you can take advantage of the deepest, cheapest they've ever had. The MyPillows, the mattress toppers, you name it. Huge, huge discount. Plus, on top of all of that, right, you're going to get a chance to get Mike Lindell's book absolutely free. It chronicles a story of struggling with drug addiction all the way through to the point where he is now is the CEO of MyPillow, and you're going to be able to take advantage of these huge, huge, deep discounts. You go to MyPillow.com/Benson. MyPillow.com/Benson. Use the promo code Benson. Save big and take advantage of the free book from Mike Lindell. MyPillow.com/Benson. Little what's trending straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending.
What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old intranet. What's trending?
Take a book, find out what's trending. Let's take a peek. Obviously, what's going on in the invasion of Ukraine is trending, as well as Bed Bath & Beyond, GameStop, many others, because, they're talking about, how should we say this, kids? You get a lot of earnings out. People looking at the stock market, kind of getting its ass handed to it this morning. What is the stock market like? It likes stability. It's what it like. It needs stability. So in needing stability and consistency, it's not getting that. And it's getting uncertainty. And it's getting rising energy prices, rising gold prices. So it's putting a hurting on the market. International Women's Day today. Breakfast cereal day. What's your favorite breakfast cereal? Mine is, you know what's saying this? Apple Jacks is my favorite. I haven't had cereal in, I don't know, forever. I had cereal yesterday. It was Saturday. My daughter wanted some, we got some Captain Crunch with a little Crunch Berry, and there was a little left over, and I threw a little bit of it in there, a little milk, and it's pretty good, actually. Oil prices shooting higher. Currently, oil is sitting at, you don't want to know, but I'm going to tell you, if you're afraid, be afraid, $1.23. $1.23. Gas, $3.60 a gallon is what it's trading as. So you think about this. You take a profit that they'll put on it, your state tax, and then the national tax, and that's how you get that ugliness of where it is you are today, anywhere between $4.20 and $7. Head over to Twitter, where everybody fights about everything. San Marino is trending because apparently they're on a list of people, nations that have been unfriendly to Russia. What? Yeah, I know. It's so stupid. The Times, London, very interesting, has a report out by a FSB, that's the KGB, it's a new one, analyst, who allegedly is saying they have no idea how many people have died. They believe it's well over 10,000. They've lost complete touch with several of their larger battalions. And on top of that, nobody in the FSB outside of one or two had any idea this was going on. That's how tight it has been there. Oh, that's ugly. Yeah, it is. Liga MX is also trending. And that is the Mexican Soccer League. Over the weekend, there was mass violence in a few of the games with fans, which, all right, I'm going to say this, okay? I'm going to say this. The pictures were, it was a lot of fighting. It was fist fighting. Nobody got shot. It was an old school English Euro kind of craziness. It was a lot of out of shape guys with no shirts fighting. That's probably the best way to describe it. So they're going to suspend some of the games for the next couple weeks or so. Oh my God. It is not a good look. That's why they're suspending him. They're going to suspend him until you guys can get in shape. I found this article today, and I thought, you know what? Let's think about it. Let's just dream for a moment. The cost of owning a private jet, is it worth it to you? If you fly more than 240 hours a year, it's reasonable that you would want to get a private jet. I'm like, really? Or at least fractional ownership of a private jet. To buy a private jet, it's going to cost you anywhere between $2 million and over $100 million. Ongoing expenses include flight crew, salaries, expenses, the cost of routine maintenance, all kinds of things like that. Anywhere between $1,000 and $10,000 an hour to operate, which is not bad, I guess. It's very interesting, though, to see. Again, like everything, you start looking, okay, how many hours? On average right now, $500,000 to $1 million annually is what you're going to spend on top of the ownership and all that other stuff. So if it's worth it that much to you and you fly that much, do it. If not, just go first class. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The nightmare is continuing. We feel it in our pocketbooks, but if we're just human beings for a second and not, where we can take a step back and see what's going on. See the slaughter. And it's a slaughter. I mean, make no bones about it. This is a slaughter. This is an evisceration of human beings. He is not trying to go in there and only take out certain installations and fight people who are putting up a fight. You're hearing stories of them just sniping and shooting people wherever they are. They are not trying to stop any kind of destruction whatsoever. They're not saying to themselves, hold on, guys, hold on. This is wrong. This is bad. The shelling, we're in the wrong place. We're shooting in the wrong place. They're not trying to stop any of that. They're just like, keep it going. Keep it going. You see somebody, shoot somebody.
Russian forces pummeled Ukrainian cities and prepared for an assault on the capital as terrified civilians trying to escape came under fire. Russia warned it would attack civilian infrastructure. Ukrainian President Zelensky called it deliberate murder. The UN has confirmed nearly 400 civilian deaths in nearly 2 weeks of fighting. Ukraine has put the civilian toll far higher. Russia said it would open humanitarian corridors, but Ukraine called the offer disingenuous because the only routes lead to Belarus and Russia.
Yeah. Man, if I'm Ukraine, maybe today the new strategy is everybody, let's fall out and take this direction and let's invade Russia. That's weird. I don't know. You can do that. I know, but still. The no-fly zone. They keep pushing for that. Something that cannot happen. It cannot happen. As much as we know that us getting into this is something that would change it, it would change everything. And not in a good way.
It would absolutely escalate everything because now you're putting planes and individuals and people on the ground all in danger of Putin's wrath. And there would be a wrath.
Yeah, there would be. I mean, do I think at this moment in time, if we got involved, that or NATO had to get involved, that we would be in a position where I think we would go in and I think we could. Yes, I think the might of NATO, if everybody was involved, and let's remember that. I mean, it all sounds good on paper, right? Goes back to the thing I always say: somebody invites you to a wedding 3 months from now, you're like, oh yeah, I'll be there, and then that weekend shows up, like, so God, I don't want to go to this damn thing. It all sounds good on paper, and right now everybody is pulling. Everybody wants to be stronger. Germany said we got to spend more money. We got to ramp up who we are to protect ourselves. Even though they were told for years. Trump told them. Everybody warned them. You guys are handing over your future of freedom in some ways potentially to a guy that nobody trusts. Yet everybody over time has done that. And now we're seeing that first step, of which I think there will be more. There's going to be more. This isn't it. This isn't. Zelensky, today, again, appealing.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky renewing his plea for a no-fly zone for planes, warning of an imminent Russian attack on the port city of Odessa, pleading with world leaders, create humanitarian airspace without missiles and aerial bombs. This is your humanitarian duty to protect us. The Russians using their massive aerial advantage to target key infrastructure as well.
But we can't do it. And the reality is Marco Rubio puts it here, is what that entails is something that makes us at war.
You see a person that's now engaged himself in a conflict that he can't win. He is now engaged in a conflict where he's either going to have a costly military victory followed by a costly occupation that he can't afford, or he's going to get caught in a long-term military quagmire. at the same time as he's facing a second front, which is an economy in free fall in his own country. So the combination of these two things, I think, puts us in a very dangerous place, and that is he's going to have to do something, some escalation, some amplification of this crisis, and I'm worried about what those things could be.
Yeah, Moldova is coming out. They're terrified because we've been saying it. Mike Lyons, who's going to come on our show later today, has talked about it on numerous occasions, that Moldova is probably next. Then over to the Balkans. Is at one point, is he going to say, let's see if NATO is really as together as they're trying to portray in the public. Let's see if that's real. And see what happens. I don't know. I don't know if we are. What I do know, though, is this is ugly. And the no-fly zone cannot happen. No matter how many times they ask, we're going to have to shoot down their planes. We're going to have to shoot their anti-aircraft guns down. So those missiles that fly, we're going to have to go to places like Belarus and to Russia to take some of those things out. It's not possible. It's just not. Not at this point in time. All the while that's going on, over here, we're feeling it every time we do anything because inflation, already was rising. Now you couple that with gas prices that are through the roof, and you've got ugly
gas prices, shocking drivers at the pump.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
The national average now topping $4 for the first time since 2008, and it's only 11 cents away from an all-time record. In California, the average is $5.28. The war in Ukraine fueling the surge. And prices could soon soar even higher as the U.S. appears to move closer to banning Russian oil imports.
Which is what we need to be doing at this point. We're sending an envoy over to Venezuela. Can you make this stuff up? Right? You guys are living in a world of hurt. Right? Oh, but Trump. Yeah, well, Trump's not here. This is this guy. Whatever this guy's going to do, we don't know. But, hopefully cooler, calmer heads will go over there. We're talking to Iran again. And we need to start putting and turning the spigot on here and understanding that it's going to take a while, but we should not be energy dependent on anybody but ourselves. And part of that's us. We consume the hell out of these things. And know that at some point in time, oil may collapse and fall, and it may not be worth it for companies to get back in it. That's understandable. Big oil companies are saying now, it's tough, can't find workers. We're focusing in other places. The mom and pops, which make up about 2/3 of oil production, they're having a tough time finding workers. It's not like you go on the street and say, hey, is there anybody here now to really pipe fit and do all these kind of things? And the other side of that is it's the expense. A lot of banks and stuff, because of this insanity that we have put out there of this green world and all of this stuff, they're staying away from lending and doing business in certain areas, and that's not a helper either. So we have to ask ourselves, and this is where if you're a leader, right? If you're a leader, you come out and you don't say things like this.
How do we get to the place where, decides he's going to just invade Russia? Nothing like this has happened since World War II.
That's our president. But you come out in a clear mind and you say, guys, you people on the left, you people who are just have bought in hook, line, and sinker, climate change, global warming, all of this stuff. Look, it's great. We need to take better care of the planet. Here's the reality of it. There are powers out there that hate us. There are powers out there that don't really care about the planet. They care about the money, and with that money bringing more power to them, planet be damned. So we can do two things. We can responsibly drill and do things, which is good. Or we can continue to outsource it to people who hate us, who don't care about the planet, and will use the energy as a weapon whenever they see fit. Those are your choices. But we need to get to the green. Yeah, I know. Sounds great. We do. We need to find better energy that's cheaper, that's clean for the environment. But it isn't happening tomorrow. And we live today. We can plan for tomorrow, but we got to live today. But he won't do that. Now, apparently, he might be taking his first step into something that may alleviate some of this, which is he might be planning a trip to Saudi Arabia this spring. What does that look like? Well, there's the guy right there. That's the dude. MBS. But he killed Khashoggi. Understandable. It's horrible. It is. That being said, what's going on right now, watching Europe being held hostage by a madman, is also horrible. Watching all kinds of people in Russia be locked up because they realize this is BS, including journalists who are trying to get out of there fast. And getting caught up in this and going to spend God knows how long in prison right now. Watching all of those things is also bad. So if it means for a moment not listening to Twitterverse and just saying it's the right thing to do instead of thinking micro, think macro, then maybe you do that. Or maybe not. Maybe not. You never know. God only. Nobody ever knows. Not with this guy. And I'm talking about our guy. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. A lot of stuff still to squeeze into, including the insanity. And it was insane. Took place several years ago. Finally, it's come to light that it was all BS, even though most of us called it BS along the way. And now, might she see some jail time? Talk about that. A lot of other stuff to squeeze into. This is the Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what?
The Rapini family tells us they're confused by several aspects of the charges that Sherry now faces, and they hope to get clarification. But the 55-page criminal complaint filed here, it documents how detectives used DNA evidence, cell phone data, and testimony from Sherry Papini's ex-boyfriend to uncover the truth.
You guys remember this story? It was so weird. So this lady goes missing. She's up in Redding, California. She goes missing. She goes out on a jog, and she goes missing. And then it's weird. They find her like iPod or cell phone by the side of the road, and her AirPods and stuff. They're like, oh my God, you know. And then she emerges, right? And days later, like 30 some days later, she's like, oh my God. And it was a trip because not everybody bought in to what she said. She said she was kidnapped by two Mexican women who beat her and tortured her. And when she finally got away, they had branded her, right? So she went full Monty. So she but she was down in Costa Mesa in another part of California, in the southern part, with her ex-boyfriend. And Sheriff Michael Johnson and several others just didn't buy any of the story about why she did this.
They suddenly didn't feel safe to walk the river trails and to go out and be alone.
Yeah, talking about the community. Oh, my God, somebody's been kidnapped. What happened? This lady was kidnapped out of nowhere, out of our quiet community. It was a lie. It was all a lie. And now she faces, like, real serious jail. She was like Jussie Smollett times a million. But she's like, no, it's all real. I mean, but this was, none of it was. Like, it wasn't. It wasn't what, it was all fake. It's nuts. It is so, like, you look at a story like, my God. Like, some people get into that. Like, I don't know how they do it. It's like people who fake having cancer. Do you really think you're that smart? Do you really think that you're going to get away with it? That's my thing. It's like, I've never, like, I'm like, there's no way we're getting away. It's not like you stole a candy bar, right? She took $30,000+ from numerous, like, organizations that help victims. Her claims for falling apart early on. Her husband allegedly paid off credit cards of about $50,000 donated in the kidnapping hoax. Was he a part of it? I don't know. Is there going to be more people charged? Did her ex know anything about this? Or was he just an unwitting accomplice? Said that her husband was beating her, that the police wouldn't believe her. Yada, yada, yada. And at the end of the day, it fell apart quick. Because here's the beauty of telling the truth. You never have to remember the lie. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to remember the lie. So you can usually tell early on, like with Jesse Smollett, right? It's supposed to be sentenced when this, it unraveled within 5 minutes. Same thing here. This started to unravel fast, but at the end of the day, there was no other witnesses, but then they found DNA and everything changed. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Gas prices through the roof. That's not going to change anytime soon. It's going to be ugly. Then you've got other stuff going on here in America, one of which is no more baseball, at least not yet.
A 95-minute meeting on the 95th day of the Major League Baseball lockout did not result in a new labor agreement. A Major League Baseball spokesman said the latest union proposal offered on Sunday in New York was not designed to move the process forward and went backward on some issues. A union rep disputed that to our partners at ESPN. A main issue separating the sides is a competitive balance tax. The players want a higher threshold. They say it functions as a salary cap. Last week, Commissioner Rob Manfred canceled the first 2 series of the season. More games could be canceled this week.
Yeah, it's going to get ugly. Why not have baseball? What are we going to do for those 3 months in the summer before football comes back? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. I watched some of the Combine. That's how lame I am this weekend. There was a guy at the Combine who's like 6'8" and almost like 400 pounds. He ran what would have been about an 11-second 100-meter dash. That's scary. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Right around 2 million, 1.7, about 2 million people have fled the Ukraine. Many, many more are trying to do it. They're trying to put in some sort of area where you can travel, a humanitarian area, where there will be no more shellings or bombings. And, of course, the way the Russians have done it is pretty much as BS as it gets, which is it will allow you to travel to Russia safely, maybe, and Belarus, which is Russia's bitch. Chat, I said it. I don't care. Deal with it. It's true. But where people want to go is anywhere but those places. And it's awful. And imagine being in a situation where you are damned literally if you do, and potentially damned if you don't.
We've seen civilians targeted where they live, where they work. The Russians have even said they're going to bombard more civil infrastructure, which President Zelensky likened today to deliberate murder. And so for the 1.7 million Ukrainians who've already crossed an international border, they're safe. But for those who've remained in these besieged cities, staying is unsafe. Leaving is unsafe, as we've seen civilians come under fire as they've tried to escape. The decision is fraught.
Yeah, there is no situation that's a good situation. Whatever choice you make is at your own peril. Leaving has so many risks to it. First and foremost, shelling, being attacked at any given time, the elements, all of those things. On the other side of it, staying, being attacked at any given time, the elements, indiscriminate shelling. There is no good options at all at this point. And he continues to push forward. He continues to kill, because that's what he's doing. He's killing. This is not their bad shots. Oh, these guys are awful. Who trained them? No, this is none of that. This is just strictly go out and fire away and kill what's ever in front of you.
Russia accelerating its attacks across Ukraine. A pattern now emerging of civilian areas and infrastructure being struck. The US saying reports that the Russians are deliberately targeting civilians are very credible. The UN saying that more than 360 civilians, 25 of them children, have been killed so far. But the Ukrainians saying the real toll is much higher.
Yeah, how much higher? I couldn't tell you. It's thousands, I'm sure, that are dead. I mean, because you think about it. They blow up an apartment building. You're not going through looking for survivors after a while because you're worried about what? The next thing that lands here. As they move into Kyiv and several of these other places, they're coming in and they're just expecting that they're going to be fired upon. And so they're ready to roll and they're just unleashing. And the Ukrainians are giving as good as they can get. But at the end of the day, they're in a situation where there's nothing that they're going to be able to really do. There's only so much. Now, right now, apparently, we're in negotiations with Poland, being able to fund or at least give them aircraft. Russia's come out and essentially said, well, if you do these kind of things or you allow people to take off from other countries, that we're going to look at that as an act of war. At some point, bro, do you really think it's an act of war? You did this. You're lying to your people. By the way, you're crushing your people. The younger generation isn't having any of your crap. They're not. They're out there. You're sacrificing tens of thousands of your young men for a needless war to somehow make you feel like you're reaching some sort of destiny. Marco Rubio talked about this weekend, something we've been chatting about, something we've been talking about, which is the age thing for him.
Most of the countries in Europe didn't believe he would invade. It just made no sense to them. They thought the risk calculus for him was not good. What they don't recognize is this guy is now almost 70 years old. He realizes he's in the backstretch. He probably feels that his legacy is not yet complete unless he can restore greater Russia, which has to include Ukraine, at least under his thumb, if not occupied by it. Yesterday, he began to make assertions to them losing their statehood.
Yeah, because this is whatever it is that's going on in that guy's mind. And he's got the world over a barrel. It doesn't have to be, but it's fraught with risk. The more that we help, the more that we intervene with giving things, helping out, the more he sees that now, including economic sanctions, as an act of war against Russia. The question is, will he move on to a NATO country? That's the big thing. Is he going to make a move to a NATO country? They've been pleading every day for no fly, no fly, no fly, no fly. It's what they want. It's not going to happen. It isn't. Not at this moment in time, it's not. Now, there'll be a no-fly zone if you go into NATO country and you do something, because we're going to make everything a no-fly zone at that point. But at this point in time, it isn't happening.
The administration certainly wants to prevent the loss of life in Ukraine, and that is at the heart of what a no-fly zone would do, prohibiting Russian warplanes from flying over Ukraine. But it would mean a much deeper and direct military involvement by the U.S. and NATO.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean? Can't we just do? I mean, they've even asked for, and Zelensky today talked about, what could we do? We need a no-fly zone. It doesn't have to just be missiles.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky renewing his plea for a no-fly zone for planes, warning of an imminent Russian attack on the port city of Odessa, pleading with world leaders, create humanitarian airspace without missiles and aerial bombs. This is your humanitarian duty to protect us. The Russians using their massive aerial advantage to target key infrastructure as well.
But we still have to say no. And the reason is there is no just a friendly flying Planey McPlanerson flying in there, dressed as as Thomas the Tank Engine landing and picking up people. That's not happening. To do what we have to do to make sure that no-fly zone is truly a no-fly zone, there's some flying that goes on and some shooting.
Look, a no-fly zone has become a catchphrase. I'm not sure a lot of people fully understand what that means. That means flying AWACS 24 hours a day. That means the willingness to shoot down and engage Russian airplanes in the sky. That means, frankly, you can't put those planes up there unless you're willing to knock out the anti-aircraft systems that the Russians have deployed, and not just in Ukraine, but in Russia and also in Belarus. So basically, a no-fly zone, if people understood what it means World War III.
Yeah. And are we ready for that? No, we're not. Do we want that? No, I don't think anybody does. But NATO is starting to feel the pressure. NATO is starting to feel the understanding that this guy isn't going to stop, and at some point in time they may be forced to act because one of these countries that is a NATO ally, a partner, is going to be attacked. That's the way they feel. Moldova, you could be next. You're not a NATO ally, but you're terrified. You're trying to get in the EU as fast as possible. Is it going to be a Balkans? I don't know. But I think he wants to test. I think he wants to see, does the West have the mettle and the cojones that if I slap them in the face, that they're going to slap me back? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Gas prices, if you guys haven't heard, are going up. Yeah. Gas prices are out of control. We're going to touch on that. It's crazy. Like seeing how far and how fast gas prices are rising. Fill up now is what I'm saying. It's what I'm trying to say to you is, if you have the chance to fill up now, would be the best time. I didn't do it on Friday when I should have. It was a 20-cent difference this morning. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. MyPillow.com/Benson. Go there. Use code word Benson, the promo code. Boom, away you go. Deep discounts on everything. The lowest price ever for things like the MyPillow, the mattress topper, the slippers, the Giza Dream Sheets, and everything else. Plus, by going to MyPillow.com using the promo code Benson, you're also going to get Mike Lindell's book absolutely free. That's right, free, just by going to MyPillow.com using the promo code Benson. It is a great opportunity for take deep discounts, and I do mean we're talking super deep discounts on every single thing that MyPillow has. They've got the Giza Dream Sheets. They've got the mattress topper, which is my favorite. They've got comforters. You name it, they've got it. Plus, get a hold of this book free. 6-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty. You're going to love all of these things. Go to MyPillow.com. Use the promo code Benson, MyPillow.com/Benson to use that promo code Benson. Remember, it's all made right here in the United States of America, which is always a win. I remind everybody of that. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
No need to socially distance while listening to your Chad Benson Show podcast. 4 out of 5 experts say so.
I'm a scientist. There is no
But hurry before they change their mind. You know they will. Chad's Podcast, found on iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, and wherever you find your favorite COVID-free podcasts.
Oh my gosh. I kind of like it, I'm not gonna lie.
This is the Chad Benson Show.
Again today, oil prices are rising at near $118 a barrel. That means in a few weeks, we'll all be paying for this increase of the pump, but already every fill-up hurts. Here in California, the average price is now at $5.28 a gallon for regular unleaded, according to AAA, with some gas stations nearing $7 a gallon.
These prices are ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
$105. Oh, my God.
And with some calling on the U.S. to ban Russian oil imports, how expensive our future will be is unclear.
Yeah, and you heard something there from our buddy Alex Stone, and that is, we haven't felt this yet. So much of what we're feeling now is stuff that has been built into the marketplace, and so we'll feel it down the road, and not just at the pump. Think about it. Think about the rising cost of gas and oil. When you think about that, you're like, well, that's right. Our products have to get to market. That takes, driving to get it there. They don't magically just land there. So from travel to ocean travel to, yes, this, getting it on a truck and getting it somewhere, it's going to go up. And oil plays a huge part in everything we do. So while it's exciting to think of a tomorrow where we just live on wishes and dreams and fly around, the reality is in a today world, it ain't happening like that. And why we haven't pulled the trigger yet, if you will, bad pun, I don't know why we're still in a situation where we've not said, all right, we're done with oil and gas. And I think the thing is the feeling is the way that he's ramping up any sanctions against us is essentially war. Anybody who helps them is essentially war. Is that this trigger pulled again, bad, would be maybe the straw that sends him over and ready to fight? Possible. So what? Look, at some point in time, don't you have to just say, all right, well, we've sat here, we've listened to you ramble on. You put out some bizarre hit list today on countries, and I say it's a hit list, it's not, but who are unfriendly to Russia, including San Marino, a country inside of a country. If you don't know where San Marino is, it is a country located in the middle of Italy. Don't ask. Here's some other of those dangerous countries. He's not a fan of, and I do mean he, let's be real, of Japan, Switzerland now, Montenegro, Taiwan, which they put Taiwan on here, right? If you're pissed, if you're China, because you're recognizing Taiwan as a country. Obviously, we're on there. Singapore, San Marino, Liechtenstein, Monaco, New Zealand, Norway, Korea. Didn't say which Korea, just said Korea. Canada, which, of course, totally dangerous. Iceland, EU countries. It's like, oh, my God. He's mad at days, I'm sure. Anything that ends in a Y. The UK and Australia. They are unfriendly, and they've been put on an approved list. Oh, no, not that. Man, that list is getting big. Let's see here. I wonder if he put, I don't know, Ivory Coast, Costa Rica. These are all countries that voted for sanctions and to condemn Russia. Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. That's what we have. So be prepared. At this point in time, it's the way I look at it. It's time for us to just say, screw it, and just take that next step. But I know. I get it. We don't want to escalate it. But We feel like he's going to act. We feel like he's going to jump. We feel like he's going to do something. So do we say, fine, let's see what you're going to do. And if you do something, you're going to do something. You're probably going to do it anyways. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Buddy Mike Lyons going to join us here. Talk about what's going on. What's the latest? Where does he think this thing's going? For all the talk of the quote-unquote plucky Ukrainians, the reality is it's getting ugly. And what he has been telling us is going to happen all along is happening. And how much worse is it going to get? And should we get ourselves off this damn gas and this oil nightmare and just basically narrow it down to like 3 places you can sell this stuff, of which one of those countries has more than enough? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. A lot of stuff still to get to besides that. Yeah, we got a ruling on the old Bill Cosby from the Supreme Court. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The nightmare is continuing over there in Ukraine, and it's getting uglier and uglier. Joining us now is the guy who's walked us through this the entire time, continues to be a friend of the show, military analyst for retired Army Major. And Mike, this is an absolute nightmare. But you were on earlier. You said you did hit earlier with CNN, and you said the journalists, they want us to just have this no-fly zone as if you can order it on Amazon. But the reality is, if we do that, then we're just in the war.
Yeah, that's right, Chad. There's no, way to distinguish a no-fly zone from a humanitarian no-fly zone. For example, I got to ask that question. The bottom line is, in order to implement a no-fly zone, we would have to go in and physically take out their anti-missile defense systems. And some of them are fixed, some of them are mobile. But we would not risk putting U.S. airplanes in spaces where they could be lit up and painted and eventually targeted and taken down. There's, a lot of these systems are fire and forget. And so it just puts us at risk. It would also directly put us in contact with either Russian planes or Russian soldiers on the ground. So it's a non-happening event right now. It would be that part of escalation. Things are escalating on both sides, right? And we're trying to figure out lethal, non-lethal support. All things are happening. But that is a clear, bright line between engaging Russian military equipment from NATO forces or U.S. forces, and it just goes a bridge too far.
So here we are. We're like day 13 of this just nightmare. It's continuing to escalate. We're seeing huge humanitarian problems going on there, but they're doing all they can to stick to the guns that they have, the Ukrainians. But you've told us from the beginning, this ends poorly for them, and they're going to lose the war. Now, they may win the occupation, but they're going to lose this war. And it's kind of, even though it's not 2-day blitzkrieg, it's still going the way of the Russians at this point.
Probably, but more time is going by that it's going to extend this creation of a better defense around Kyiv and some of these other cities and the like. It looks like there's a better military effort from Russia taking place in the south. They haven't still attacked Odessa yet. They haven't hit that last port city. Maybe that's what their final objective will be, is to get that last port city and then try to sue for some kind of peace where Russia keeps that lower half of Ukraine, keeps that southern portion all on the Baltics, into the Donbass region, and then they become federal states. But Ukraine can't accept that because it leaves them a landlocked country. It changes the dynamic completely. And who's to say those citizens want to become part of Russia. What's going on in the north militarily is an absolute disaster. And every day that goes by, more equipment pours in, more mercenaries cross the border, more targets get created with these with the convoys. There's a report, and I know we talked about it. We said that the military is going to clear their desks to make sure stuff gets there. 17,000 javelins, 2,500 Stinger missiles, all got there within the last 2 weeks. That's just a miracle. The kind of logistics that we haven't seen since the Berlin airlift. So the weapons are pouring, and so we're going to continue to attrit them in the north and attrit that military as the Russian soldier doesn't seem to be fighting. The question is, what does the peace look like if it's G-0, which is basically everything goes back to where it was? Ukraine stands up. It is no worse for wear. It has all of its has all of its territory back, but likely a lot of destruction took place and a lot of people were killed in the cities.
Mike Lyons, retired Army major and a military analyst who's been with us from the beginning of this thing. So, Mike, I look at this thing, and it is a nightmare, the humanitarian side of it. It looks like, though, they're going to encircle Kyiv, and this thing is going to be a battle that is going to get so ugly because if you had the money to leave, you probably got out. If you tried to leave and they realized the only place you could go was Belarus or Russia, you probably went back. This is the last stand for this government, but can they fortify it enough to make it not worth it for Putin?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, we've seen the Ukraine soldier concerned about the civilian already. So I got to thank the leadership in Kyiv from a military perspective is really taking the citizens and making sure they're safe, putting them well in the center of the city, and far away as they try to defend in depth. And again, as every day goes by, they get to put more porcupine needles into the porcupine. We've seen them with the hedgehogs. We've seen a lot of things that they are doing to create obstacles for tanks or armored vehicles to get into the city. So I think that they think they can hold out there again as this other material continues to pour in. The question is water. The question is rations. The question is medical supplies. It's not just ammunition. They're going to have to support a large number of people. 3 million people. I'm not sure how many are out. Let's say 500,000 got out of there alone. Hard to say. They still have a pretty significant amount of people to support. Now, what the Russian military can do is go after these power plants to shut the power off, shut the water off, and create that kind of situation. And then, so I'm sure they're rationing and husbanding those other resources inside these cities as well. So right now, Ukraine, at the end of the day, Ukraine military is just a lot smarter than the Russian military. And the Russians have committed all their hands, 190,000 troops, 90% in. They're all in at this point. There's nobody coming to save them. But the Ukraine military seems to be more fortified and getting smarter by the day.
Moldova today is terrified. So that they feel like they're next. Again, we've talked about, is there a way out of this? I keep telling everybody, I think the reason they're not really coming hard at war crimes is they want to give him still an off-ramp where he doesn't feel like he's that desperate criminal who is either going to go to jail or be executed but has no chance at freedom.
Yeah, I think so. I think they should be concerned. Moldova, similar to Ukraine, about the size of, let's say, the state of Maryland. Not a lot of space there. He'd have to deploy resources over there, thinning him out, so to speak, along that southern flank that he's advancing on. You have separatist regions in Moldova that are more aligned towards Russia as well. Former Soviet bloc country, all those things, formerly behind the Soviet Union. However, the majority of the country is more aligned with the West right now. It would be an easy get for him. It could be, if he can figure it out, it could be something that gives back at the end when he tries to reset normalcy. But I think he's going to have a real problem resetting normalcy. Every day that he goes on here, he's more in peril about whether he's going to stay in power and whether the world will kind of allow that. You see every day Ukraine citizens saying he's got to be stopped. He's got to be stopped. And more people are recognizing that that regime change is possibly now, getting more and more of a realistic solution here.
He's retired U.S. Army Major and military analyst Mike Lyons. All right, Mike. So speaking of that change, the reality is you've got two things happening in Russia. You've got people who are over 50 who remember the Soviet Union, who state TV is something they would go to. Then you have a group of people that are much younger and they don't watch regular TV, much like our people don't, myself included. We stream, we're on internet all day. They're seeing something wholly different. The young don't buy this. The old do. Is there enough young over there, though, that can make a difference?
Yeah, I think so. I think there is. I think that it's a great point about how information gets disseminated and what really knows what's going on. I think that the young have seen that what the West offers in terms of capitalism and the like, and sees what the possibilities are. They're the ones that decide on whether or not they're going to fight or not. Look what's happening in Moscow, right? The people that are protesting. I saw videos of police this morning stopping young people, checking their phones, literally taking their phones from them, checking their phones, see if they got text messages on there. They recognize the threat comes from the young people who can mobilize quickly and communicate faster and have a lot more agility with regard to putting things together. So I think that's going to be the undercurrent as the story gets written about this and over time. This is one of those kind of tectonic plate shifts that's taking place in the world. And perhaps the lesson we learn again from NATO is we got to put soldiers forward. We have to obviously do that to defend. There's no substitute for it. But instead of trying to import this democracy all the time, what needs to be imported is capitalism. I mean, there's going to be a rebuild of Ukraine. Let's make sure we're at the front of the line of that when that takes place, not Russia, not China, not these other countries that are there. Let's be at the front of the line on that. Let's give that opportunity. So capitalism starts there in a way that it never started before.
Who could speak to Putin if there's anybody that could? People talked about Merkel. Well, you know what? The first time he met Merkel, he was late and he brought his dog. She's terrified of dogs, and he knew that. He is a manipulator, a master manipulator. Who out there could actually sit down and somewhat reason, look, all right, you've done enough damage. Here's the things you can have. Move away from this, and you may still have a place where you can maybe go visit, I don't know, the United Arab Emirates once in a while. But if you don't, you're screwed.
Yeah, great question. Because I think there's actually only two leaders in the world who can do that right now. I mean, we saw what the French president tried to do, and he got dismissed. I think he got told away to the door as well, or he did a phone call with him or something. And I think one of them already went over the weekend, the Israeli prime minister, who I'm sure also said to him, he said, look, it's not going to be a good idea if you murder and assassinate a Jewish head of state. I don't think that'll go over well with the people of Israel. And, Israel's got a tremendous amount of, power and capability when it comes to, kind of settling things out, making sure things are even, Steven, in the Old Testament world that they live in. So I think I'm sure that message was conveyed. But the second guy is Erdogan. It's the Turkish prime minister who, gets a lot of flack for not being a great NATO partner. He buys anti-ballistic missile systems from Russia I don't get on any level, but SA-400s that still haven't really been deployed where they need to be. But I think he's the only one that has any legitimacy. And what's crazy about that is Turkey has always been that bridge to kind of the bad world of people we need to talk to. Back in the 80s, Turkey was the country that we used back channel to talk to the Iranians when we weren't talking to the Iranians publicly. So here is Turkey again as that potential bridge. I think that's the chance. We haven't seen him involved yet. I don't think that the establishment wants to ask because they know that that there's potential that could go south as well.
All right. By the end of this week, is Zelensky still around? Is he fled? Is Kiev still standing, or is this about to get uglier? Because it seems to be as we're talking now, it's starting to get dark, and that's when things get sideways.
I think it's going to continue to, frankly, move like pond water, especially in the north. That they're nowhere near that convoy now might as well be trapped in quicksand. They're not just all of a sudden going to start their engines and move. And they're going to have more of those vehicles picked off. So I just don't see that happening. I think by the end of the wing, Zelensky's still there. I think that I think now at this point they've probably convinced him that if they had to get him out of there, he would go. He recognizes his importance, and as hard as that would be, it doesn't make for any good that he dies there for his country. That does not make any good, because the bottom line is, the Ukraine democracy is very fragile, and it hasn't been around a long time. And, they're trying. They get points for trying. And they would have been in NATO 20 years ago, like everybody else, but they were still corrupt, and they still had Russians in Crimea anyway. So there's lots of reasons why we got to this place. And if we can get through this plot, he could be the George Washington of that country.
Last question. Appreciate you coming on. Mike Lyons, our military analyst. The nuclear plants. You're hearing stories that they're taking these things, they're playing the games with the power, but that, Putin at any given time, could have these things booby-trapped and blow it up just for the hell of it to piss off of Europe and hold everybody hostage.
He is completely playing with fire there. And again, I'm trying to figure out what's going through the mind of the Russian soldier. And I got to think that the more elite Russian troops are the ones that are taking those plants in order to control them, not to try to destroy them. Let's make the assumption there's no nuclear physicists inside those Russian military units. They have no idea what they're looking at or what's important or not. The fact that they actually had a firefight is unfathomable on some level. So there's not a lot of smarts going around there. I think, the military has the mission, go shut down the power plant, and this is kind of how they do it. So they're going to have to be careful. If they set off something and makes it a lot worse, then you could see perhaps the West getting more involved. But in this case, that's just all about controlling the civilians and trying to shut off the power, have control of it. One more thing, too, they haven't figured the cyber thing out. And I think a lot of that has to do with that's the undercurrent support that I think has come from the West that you can't tell is coming from the West. But we've done a lot of radio jammers, and we've done a lot of good counter cyber operations in that one location, that one geography that's really shut down. There's reports of shut down the radios and shut down their communication channels. I think that's going to be one of those things that's going to come out after that's going to show that was going to be a real difference maker.
It's crazy, and hopefully it starts to get better sooner rather than later, but I just have a feeling this thing is going to last a while. Mike Lyons, military analyst, thanks so much for coming on, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Chad. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. Wrap it up straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
Helen Keller is a Nazi terrorist that is a male. Is that what you're telling me right now?
Yeah.
Are you thinking of Hitler?
Who's Hitler?
Vaccines work, but only the Chad Benson Show is 100% effective against stupidity.
Do you know what D-Day is? D-Day.
A person? A rapper?
God, Karen, you are so stupid.
Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and wherever you find your favorite woke-free podcasts. This is the Chad Benson Show.
The petition from Pennsylvania prosecutors was always a legal long shot, but Monday the U.S. Supreme Court made it official, declining to take up the Cosby case. Last year, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court tossed out Cosby's sexual assault conviction, saying the actor's due process rights had been violated when a district attorney brought the case against Cosby despite an earlier pledge not to prosecute. Cosby was released from prison last June after serving less than 3 years of a 3 to 10 year sentence. The Supreme Court's rejection of the prosecutor's appeal effectively ends criminal litigation around the Cosby sexual assault allegations.
Yeah, he's free to roam the country. Watch out, ladies. Chad, that's not very nice. Being honest. Look, we know who he is, right? It's not like people are clamoring, man, I hope we have another Cosby show. That's not happening. We know exactly who he is. This just says that thing is done and dusted. It's over. We move on. He's a scumbag. None of that has changed. And it's not going to. Just let you know that. Over the weekend, an actual movie came out in the theaters that people actually went and saw. Crazy. Absolute crazy.
I'm vengeance. The Batman was expected to open with at least $100 million, and it did that and more. $128.5 million for Robert Pattinson's Bow as an even darker Dark Knight. The Batman's also only the second pandemic-era movie to score a $100 million opening weekend after Spider-Man No Way Home.
Hear everything they say, ain't you?
Add the $120 million from overseas showings, and the Batman's total opening take is $248.5 million.
Yeah. It's doing well. How well will it do? I don't know. Some of my friends who went and saw it, it's okay. It was a little bit long. That's a long movie. I'm sorry. 2 hours and 55 minutes. Who got time for that? Who does? That's a day. That's what it feels like. We're talking about baseball being too long and sporting events. But 2 hours and 55 minutes, 3 hours essentially for a movie, might be a little bit too much for me. I'll wait for it when it comes out, and I'll watch it in 3 parts over a couple days. The house, 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me, text me. That's the text line you got there. I answer all my own stuff. You guys have a blessed rest of your start of the week. We will do it again tomorrow. As always, night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.